All right. So, welcome everybody to our first of 5 sessions this week about our North Florida Beaches Indicators dashboard. My name is Allison Owenby, and I am the Vice President of Data Research and Strategic Initiatives at the Nonprofit Center. I would love, we have a small group, but I would love for you to introduce yourself, Janet. I'm not sure if we've met before.
No, I just joined the nonprofit center like 2 months ago, and I just went to the first the new member meeting or whatever last month, and so this is my first like class that I'm taking.
Okay.
So I have a new small high school at the beaches that's a private high school, and we
Okay.
just started a nonprofit branch called Learn Work Launch. The school in general kind of focuses on project-based learning and real-world learning. So the Learn Work
Mm,
Launch really just focuses on internships and workforce development and that piece so that the school can focus more on the academics.
cool. That sounds awesome. Where you
Thank
guys,
you.
do you have a home base yet?
Yeah, we're on the campus of Montessori Tides School. We rent a couple suites from them, so it's right across from Sonati's on Penman
Awesome.
in Jacks Beach.
Cool. Okay, I don't want to interrogate you, but maybe we can catch up and I can learn a little bit about your organization
Awesome.
later.
Awesome.
I see. Lacey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Lacey. I'm the new research assistant intern here at the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida.
Cool.
And Lacey is a master's student in the UNF psychology program.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
Yes, that as well.
I like to brag on her more than she likes to brag on herself.
Exactly.
Um, okay, Amy.
Sure. So I'm Amy Palmer. I'm with the Community Foundation, and I'm one of the program directors here. So I work on grant making, and my main area of focus is the arts, but I do a little bit of everything as well. Right now we're reviewing our uh, I guess what we call poverty grants that address hunger and basic needs.
Cool.
Yeah, Amy has a cool job. All right, Donna, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I was muted, sorry. I'm Donna Rex, and right now I am involved in a social justice network at Palms Presbyterian Church and am part of the Beaches Action Coalition and also have been in the nonprofit sector for years. But we are doing a whole series this year on coming up. We've done homelessness and housing, we've done poverty, we've looked at food issues, and this year we're taking a whole year to look at health equity in the
Mm,
community.
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you'll join us for our health conversation a little bit later this week.
Well,
Um,
I realized I signed up for everything, but I didn't click all the way through. So today I had to re-register for today, and then I'm going to re-register for the other things that I can.
no
Unfortunately, I have a
worries.
conflict on Wednesday, so I can't join that group.
Understood. I
Will we
totally,
be
totally
able
get
to
it.
will we be able to get a recording of this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Wonderful.
we are
Thanks.
recording right now. You're good.
Okay.
And then Carmen, I see Carmen Wong on.
Yes, hi. Hello everyone. My name's Carmen. I am I guess I can still say new. It's been less than a year. I'm the new executive director of the Scheidel Family Foundation, which has, the roots of its founders and a continuing grant making footprint there in the Jacksonville area. But I am based up in the Washington, D.C. area. And so I have signed up for these sessions this week. I actually just came back from a trip from Jacksonville, um, but I've signed up for these sessions all week, and I look forward to learning from and with all of you.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Carmen. We appreciate you participating. So I'm going to kick off with just a little bit about the Nonprofit Center. I have to give a little shameless plug to our organization. And then we're going to take a look at something I generated over the past couple of days. And it's an economic report of the beaches community. And we're going to take a look at what's kind of trending within the community, how the population shifts have influenced this change, and what the beach could think about building some programs around or trying to focus on to move the needle to help economic indicators start moving in a positive direction. So up until this point, oh, well, before I jump into that, let's start with this slide. So the Nonprofit Center of Northeast Florida is an organization that's been around for about 20 years, a little bit over 20, and we are a membership organization that supports nonprofits at all levels. So we have members from organizations that are just starting out with their 501c3, all the way up to organizations like the United Way of Northeast Florida that have hundreds of millions of dollars in annual budgets. And so we build programs to help support nonprofits essentially become better versions of themselves. We help them with how to build a great board of directors. We help them understand the basics of running their nonprofit business, like building budgets and HR best practices and things like that. But we also kind of act as a hub for information for nonprofits. So we have a board bank where boards of directors can post opportunities to join their board, as well as a job bank, right? So you can find your next employment-based opportunity on our website for a host of different nonprofit organizations. We do a lot of consulting, so working one-on-one with different nonprofit groups, as well as hosting peer convenings, right? So a lot of times we have one of our most popular sessions is called CEO Confidential, where all nonprofit CEOs get together and they get to talk about the challenges and the great things about being a nonprofit CEO and compare best practices and notes. And then I would say probably the most important bullet point on this slide is the data projects and local research, and I would say that because that's what I get to do every single day. And so that's what we're here to talk about today, different data projects. And so I want to start here by just kind of giving you a little context and background about how this project started. So Northeast Florida has a long and well-documented history of leading the charge in the country when it comes to understanding its community through data, right? So in 1974, Jacksonville Community Council Incorporated started and was one of the first organizations across the country to examine community-wide data and build systems for community change and data monitoring across the country. And unfortunately, they closed their doors in 2016. And we started our project, the Northeast Florida Indicators Project, in 2022. And so this project was started to help Northeast Florida understand itself better through community indicators and by bringing people together to talk about what's going on in our community with data. And so today, it started in 2022, but today we have a lot of different geographic focus areas for our data work. The first is Catalyst overall, which is kind of a regional view of data. We compare the 7 counties you see on the screen here to each other. So there's Duval, St. John's, Flagler, ugh, Baker, Nassau, Putnam, and Clay. And then it's always a test of whether I can remember which all of the counties are where. We've also worked with several city council members to build them custom data maps to better understand their city council district in Jacksonville. We work with Clay County a lot to do data analysis and community conversations around data. And the one we're here to talk about today is our North Florida Beaches project, which we're going to get into in just a minute. And so this is what we're here to talk about today. So the North Florida Beaches Indicators is a tool that's designed to provide clear data-driven insights into key issues affecting the beaches region. And we hope that it's a resource that helps all members of the community better understand its strengths and opportunities. So the first thing people always ask when we talk about the beach is, what does that mean, right? What is the geographic footprint of the beach? And so this map you see over here is that geographic footprint. So when we think about zip codes that make up this geographic footprint, it's 32227, 3366, and 50, as well as parts of 25, 24, and 82. So the geographic footprint, this is, if you think about Mayport, so this is north of Mayport here. We go all along the beach down to South Ponte Vedra here, and then we cut a little bit across the intercoastal and go north, and then a little bit farther west of the intercoastal when we hit Beach Boulevard. So this road right here is Beach Boulevard. So when we talk about the data that we're going to view today, this is the footprint that we're talking about. Now, we built the North Florida Beaches Indicators project in partnership with the Beaches Action Collaborative. So the Beaches Action Collaborative, and Donna can tell you a little bit more about this group, is a group of faith partners, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and community leaders that come together once a month to network and talk about issues that are going on within the beaches community. And so over the past 2 years, we've worked hand in hand with the Beaches Action Collaborative to build this data tool around 6 different focus areas. And so those are kind of an overview of the beach, right? So that section really talks about what's the population of the beach, what's the age makeup and ratios, gender, well, not gender, sex ratios, right? So male versus female, as well as the diversity indexes. So, right, how diverse is the beach when you look at white, Black, Hispanic, Asian, or other races? We're here today to talk about economic vitality, so we'll get into that in just a moment. For education, this is about K through 12 education as well as overall educational attainment of the community. Housing and homelessness is around affordability of housing, right? Owning a home, renting a home, as well as building trends within the community and homelessness. There's food insecurity as well. So that's can people get and afford nutritional food, right? As well as physical health, mental health, and healthcare access. So that one talks a lot about, you know, cancer rates, other physical manifestations of health, insurance, whether folks at the beach have insurance or if they're uninsured, as well as mental health. So things like, are people depressed at the beach? And one of the things that we recently added to the dashboard is around binge drinking, and so we'll talk about that when we meet on Friday, is that drinking is increased and is higher, shown in higher rates at the beach than in other parts of our community, as well as healthcare access, right? So things like provider ratios. So are there enough doctors at the beach to service our beaches community, as well as um, uh, insurance rates? Oh, okay, wait, we're not at the end yet. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and I'm going to pull up what we're going to review today. Um, so the last time we met a few months ago, and I don't think any of you were on that call, but we really went through the beaches dashboard line by line and kind of got feedback about, is this the right data to cover and topics? And so we've made refinements to that dashboard, but I thought a better use of our time today is to kind of deep dive into not necessarily the dashboard, but a report that we produced that is an offshoot of that one. You all will get a copy of this report after our session today. Any questions before I go into that report? Comments or anything? All right, let me go ahead and share this link again because I think I shared it with Lacey at the top of the meeting and you all probably joined after. So this is the report that we're going to go through today. And I think it's going to help us have a really rich conversation. So my plan is to just kind of review the data that's within the report. And then I would love for you all, as we're going through it, to just jump in, right? Don't feel like you can't speak. I'm going to go through the data and I'm going to try to do it quickly and efficiently, but also not too fast so we can kind of understand what the outcomes are. And then afterwards, I just want to kind of get your reactions to the report. Okay? All right, let me share my screen. We'll walk through this together. All right, so this is a report that we generated on the economic vitality of the beach. And so our dashboard is great. It has a lot of great statistics on it, but it doesn't always tie different data points together. And so this report is an attempt at us to try to tie the data points together and tell a cohesive story leveraging the data about what's happening within the beaches community. And so I want to start here with kind of the executive summary and the things that we're going to see as we go through. So the first bullet point here shares that labor force participation in the beach is falling, even while unemployment is low. And so what does that mean? That means that um, this could be likely due to the fact that there's a significant increase in older adults in the region who are not in the labor force, right? So we'll go through that in just a moment. Also, housing affordability pressure is rising, right? And that's showing up in the amount of cost burden households there are within the community. So the share of occupied housing units that cost 30% or more of people's income rose from 30% to 32.8, which is basically 33%. So um, we remain somewhat better than Duval County in Florida, but we are trending more higher for housing affordability. And then the local job base that guys can imagine at the beach is concentrated in visitor serving sectors, right? So accommodation and food services is about 20% of all jobs located within the Beaches Action Collaborative footprint, which is far higher than Duval County in Florida overall, which Duval County is about 8%, Florida is 11. So when we think about the concentration of jobs available at the beach, a lot of the times and you think about the cost of living and affordability, where we can see that people who work in the type of accommodation food service jobs may not be able to actually afford to live at the beach. So this section is going to just go over a little bit about who we are, who lives at the beach, right? So when we think about the Beaches Action Collaborative footprint, it's about a little over 100,000 people. And so that's about, not 10% of Duval County overall. And then we've got about 22 million in Florida, right? So a small amount of people, but a very important group of folks. So here, when we take a look at the share of 65 and older, they're rising faster in BAC than in Duval County overall. So if we look here, we can see this dark blue line is the Beaches Action Collaborative footprint. So this is showing us that in 2012, there was about 16% of older adults or people 65 and older at the beach. And now that population has increased to about 22%. So when we look at that comparatively to Florida, Florida increased from 18% to 21, and then Duval County was about 12% to 15. So we can see the folks that live at the beach are increasingly older. We can also see this reflected in median age. So if we're looking at median age comparatively, median age for the beach used to be 42.6. Now it's 45.4, right? And we can see here in Duval County it was 35.9, basically 36, and it's still right at 36.9. So not too much of an increase, but you can see how that's changed in the Beaches Action Collaborative footprint. So essentially what the data is telling us is that the population at the beach is aging. Over here, we're looking at the labor market health, right? So here, this graph is telling us that unemployment is low and it's improving, right? So when you think about the labor market of folks who live at the beach and the beach overall, you can see that unemployment rates are lower. So even when you compare Florida and Duval County, beach is all has always been lower. We have 7% unemployment rate down to 3.3%, whereas Florida and Duval County have always been higher. And over here, we'll look at labor force participation. So here, we've got Duval County at about 70%. We have let me get rid of Duval. Beaches Action Collaborative is about 66%, and now we're seeing it about 63. So we've lost about 4 percentage points. And then within Duval, we can unclick this and just add Duval County back in. So Duval was at 65, almost 66%. It's kind of remaining pretty steady at 65, rounding up to 66%. So there hasn't been much change in Duval County. There hasn't been quite as much change in Florida overall. But within the Beaches Action Collaborative, you can kind of see that more negative trend to more recently. Employment to population is high and roughly flat or not worsening across the board when we look at employment to population ratio. We won't spend too much time there.
Allison,
Yes,
I would suggest that the employment rates reflect too the aging of the community.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
For the most
Yeah.
part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And so these are all these statistics here just kind of reinforce to me the aging of the community, right? So unemployment is down, but it's not, you know, changing significantly. Labor force
Right.
participation is down, and I think we can attribute that to the aging of the community, right? Um, so yeah.
This is really interesting because it's now validating a decision that we made at the church last week in our project that we're going to be doing over the year, that we're going to we're centering ours around healthy aging. Because such a large percentage of our congregation alone is elderly.
Yes.
And very reflective of churches in general, but also that we can still tie in to this the for younger people in the community to have interest in the programs we're going to be doing. We've been able to identify some things in aging and health that affect younger people as they get into that sandwich generation of having to care for young children and parents at the same time. So thank you. This is great data for me.
Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll share it out after. And you know what, that reminds me, we just did a similar comparison for Duval County overall, and we added in statistics about how income for older adults hasn't kept pace with inflation. And so I'll look to add that here.
It also speaks to needing to get young people into the workforce, like my people.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And it also, for me, right, speaks to kind of affordable housing, right? So that's kind of the next section we're going to talk about here is incomes are higher than benchmarks. So we're going to look at um, a couple of indicators of income at the beach now. And so the beaches, unsurprisingly, has a much higher median income than Florida and Duval County overall, right? So if we look at the beach Here we see in 2012, it was about 72,000 for median income. Now we're up to about 112,000, which is a pretty significant increase over time. Whereas Florida and let's get rid of the beach and just look at Florida and Duval County. So I would say Florida and Duval County are about the same, 47,000 back in 2012, and now we're at Duval County's at 71 and Florida overall is at 74. But if you add that beach's median income, it's just so significantly higher and projected to continue to increase, right? So we can see kind of what the projections show us here. This one is per capita income. So this is a household income, right? So this is anybody that could be participating in a household. This is income divided by each individual within the community. So you can still see here that those income trends of the beaches having significantly higher just continue to be mirrored, right? So Florida right now and Duval County are 40 and 42,000 respectively, whereas the Beaches Action Collaborative is about 71,800. And this one is just median earnings. So this was per capita income, so median earnings here. And then down here, right, this is going to talk about poverty, right? But this is looking at poverty as poverty reduction, right? So we can see here that um, overwhelmingly at the beach, there's less instances of poverty overall. So about 2012 was about 24%, and now we have around 17% in 2022, whereas Florida and Duval County were much higher, around 38%, and now down to 30. But I think, a important caveat to understand here is that this doesn't mean necessarily that people are making more. It may just mean that they're being priced out of the community, right? So when we think of housing costs going up significantly, we're going to get there in just a moment. It may not be that people are just making more money to get them out of poverty. It may just mean that they're completely leaving the community overall. So this is very low income. So this is 150% of poverty level. So this is poverty. Oh, I'm sorry, 200% of poverty. This is 150. So we see similar. That Beaches Action Collaborative just has fewer people who fall into those low income areas. And that also mirrors the data we saw about median income, right? So if your income is higher overall, you're going to have fewer people in that community that fall into those lower back brackets. This is around housing cost burden, so building upon some of the other economic indicators. This is housing costs exceed 30% of their income. And this is I believe this is a combined indicator of homeowners and rental data. So if we look here, we see they all around the same, right? Back in 2012, we have the Beaches Action Collaborative at about 38%, Duval 39, and Florida 40. And we can see here that the beach is showing less housing cost burden compared to Duval in Florida. But if you break this out between homeowners and renters, you'll see a different data statistic. And I'll add that in here after this call because I think it's a really important differentiator between people who own their homes and people who are renting, right? The majority of people who own their homes at the beach are spending less money. There's a lot of them are spending between 10 and 20% of their income to own their home, whereas renters, you see significant amount of renters who fall into that 50% or more, spending 50% or more of their income on rent. And so that's not necessarily reflected in this graph, but I will add it. I know those data statistics like the back of my hand. This right here is talking about rent and home values and how they've increased pretty rapidly across overall, but even at the beach more, right? So This is showing us what the median home rent is for the beach over time. And so here we see it was about $1,200, and now we're up to about $1,800 at the beach. And Florida and Duval County were about 900 to 998. Florida's looking at around 1,600 for rent, and Duval County overall is about 1,400. When we get to the bottom of this report, there'll be some different maps that is going to show us where those concentration of high rent are located. Also, median home value is trending higher, right? So at the beach, we've seen a really significant jump in home values, right? So average home value of 300,000. Now that's up to about 604, which doesn't necessarily include some of the more recent extremely high spikes and now more trending lower, right, over time. Where Florida overall is about 350 and 300,000 comparatively. This is something interesting to look at. I think a lot of the times people want to understand access to public transportation, but I think especially for the beach community, we are looking here around commuting, right? And overwhelmingly, folks at the beach have much longer commute times than any other parts of our city. Um, and so here we're seeing the average commute time for the beaches is about 28. Oh, I'm sorry, for Florida is about 28 minutes, for Duval 24, and for the beaches 23. But when we look at longer commutes, we see that here we have Beaches Action Collaborative, Duval County, and Florida overall is a little bit higher, but the beach is higher than that. And then here, this is a very long commute. So this is 45 minutes. We can see how that varies by geography.
So, Allison, when you're
mhm.
when you're looking at these numbers,
Yes, ma'am.
so we know that the hospitality industry is largest at the beaches.
Hmm.
And we know that the people that are filling those jobs can't afford to live at the beach.
Hmm.
Where in these graphs does it represent those people who are commuting into the beach from Duval County? Would that be under the Duval County commute? I'm
Yes.
assuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
something that I'm trying to get that data around. It's not something that I have access to right now, but it's come up in some other conversation as well.
I'm sure it is.
Is where do people live? Where do they work? And what's the difference between those commutes, right? And so there is data. So the loads, LODES data that's right here, it does have that data point available. I just haven't uploaded it yet.
Okay.
But this is a really good question, and I'll just make a note to ensure that we add that here. It's come up in the past, and my mentor recommended that we include it in these conversations as well. So good point, Donna.
And just some background on this. The Beaches Action Collaborative is a revitalization of a group that started way before COVID that was managed by Baptist Beaches Hospital. And when that group more or less went away because the lead at Beaches Baptist left Beaches Baptist and nobody took it on. And the group didn't continue. But one of the things that they studied in that before COVID was transportation and what an impact it had on employers at the beach, because people couldn't get from one end of the beach to the other in a timely fashion, right, or over the intercoastal and out to the beach to work at the no public transportation goes south of the Duval County line. at the
Yes.
beach. So it goes to the shopping center right there at Butler Boulevard. And then how do people get from there to the hotels in Ponte Vedra and the restaurants and everything else?
Right.
So
Yes.
that would be interesting to see.
I will
But
definitely.
we've pretty much given up, I think, on trying to study and improve transportation issues because there's really not an answer to it right now.
I know it's such a challenging thing. And I think communities across the country, especially and even ours, are just realize the challenge in transportation,
Yes.
right? Without significant investment, right? And even just thinking about last week, right? Last week, we saw a news article that JTA is has lower revenues than
Uh-huh.
projected, right?
Uh,
And they're increasing fares. And so one bus ride now will cost $10
oh,
Wow.
Like one way? What,
one way.
like a
Yes.
bus ride
Yes.
Wow. Who can afford
Yes.
that?
anywhere? Or, I mean,
And
is
so when one
uh,
person gets on the bus,
uh-huh.
at minimum, they will be charged $10. And if they go more than 12 miles on the bus, they'll be charged an additional $1.25
Oh
per
my
mile,
God.
I think it is. And so this is a really huge concern for working folks in our community overall. We saw the article last week at the Nonprofit Center, and we're just all flabbergasted that that's the cost of a bus
Yeah.
ride now and what the impact that's going to be on our community. We partner with JTA to do free bus passes for nonprofit organizations to hand out within the community. But Lacey, can you grab that news article from our Slack channel and paste it in the group chat here? Thank you.
Allison, why is there not an investment in transportation? It kind of seems like such like a foundational thing, right? I mean, if we want, you know what I mean? Like if we want a healthy economy, right?
Hmm. I can't answer that. I,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Amy and Donna could. I don't have the historical knowledge to be able to give that kind of. Okay.
um, I'll just give some feedback. Right now, there's a lot of discussion about this in the city council in Duval County and Jacksonville because they've invested so much money in the local um, the the Skyway or whatever it's called here, the people
Yeah.
mover. I've lived here since '86 and I can't even remember what it's called.
Mm.
That nobody uses, and now they've got the transportation going up and down Bay Street, but to where and what end?
Right.
And they have not invested in transportation going out to the areas of the city that are becoming more and more populated.
Right.
And so, and I honestly, I think it's all political. But I can't speak to exactly why.
Okay.
I think there was a missed opportunity in the 90s. There was some talk about using better Jacksonville plan funding for light rail, which, as spread out as Jacksonville is, you can imagine, what a benefit that would be.
Yeah.
And it just, and there may have been more available land then, to do
Right.
that along some of the major corridors. But it didn't really get any traction. And again, I think there are just some politics involved, when it comes to public transportation, especially in the past, that were very prominent. So
Hmm. And this is the news article here, so you can see like the last line here, right? New rates take effect April 2nd. Riders will pay $10 for the first 12 miles and $2.50 per mile beyond that. According to JTA, 75% of Connection Plus travelers travel 12 miles or less per trip. So it's a per trip cost.
is there any sort of like, I wonder, if you ride every day, if there's
Like if you get like a monthly pass or
like a
something.
monthly pass or something like that, because I mean, if you do the math, it seems as if I
Who
mean,
can afford
that's
that?
a car payment right there,
Right,
a nice car payment.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's
wow.
a good question. I'm gonna look it up really quick. Let's see if we can find it. Fares and passes. Um, there's a 31-day pass, looks like. But it's not letting me click it. Maybe 31-day pass is $40, it looks like. So that's a little bit more affordable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The only challenge is a lot of people can't come up with that $40 at one
Sure.
time.
Sure.
But if they're talking about raising it to $10, then yeah, it's, although I wonder if that's going to increase as well.
Right. So right now, the
Wow.
pricing that's listed on JTA's website is the old pricing. So we'll see what that
Yeah.
changes to after April 2nd. Anyways, all right, let's keep going. We still have about 15 minutes left, so let's just take a moment. This is about the economy and job structures at the beach, right? So here we can kind of just see the number of jobs at the beach and how that's changed over time, which kind of gone up and down, but we're at probably a record high right now of about 45,800, probably about closer to 4,600 jobs. And here we'll see the breakdown of the job types. So this is kind of an eye chart right here, but let's go to the bottom. We'll start there. So dark blue is Beaches Action Collaborative. So for now, let's take out Duval County and Florida. And here we can just kind of see that obviously jobs for accommodation food services is the highest, about 20%. We have the next one being healthcare, right? So that makes sense with um, Baptist Beaches there, as well as a lot of doctors' offices and things. Technology and then retail trade are the top. So between retail trade, knowing those are low income type jobs that are available, and adding that to accommodation food services, making up about 30% of the beach's economy, is something to look at.
And also healthcare, really,
Healthcare,
because healthcare, there's far fewer doctors than there
right?
are entry level kind of positions.
Agreed.
Sad.
Yes. So when we look here and we add those other geographies back in, the light blue is going to be Duval. So we can see here that there are less healthcare jobs as a percentage at the beach as compared to Duval and Florida overall, which makes sense just because of the density of our healthcare systems. There's much more technology jobs out at the beach versus some of the other parts of Duval County, which is interesting. So yeah. The business count at the beach is rising, but it skews pretty small. I think overwhelmingly, when you look at the size of of businesses, they do tend to skew small. So here we have about 4,000 businesses that are located out at the beach. And then we can see here, uh, this is a separate graph than the percentage. Um, we couldn't get the data um, at the beaches level here, but businesses per resident is fairly consistent when we look at Duval County in Florida. Um, so yeah, now we're going to go into just unemployment and where that's concentrated, right? So the darker colors on this map indicate where unemployment is high, and yellow is where unemployment is low. So you can see, we zoom in a little bit, right? We have pretty low unemployment right here, which is right at where you come off the JTB and the neighborhoods behind that. I think those are pretty well established neighborhoods. We've got also low unemployment In Ponte Vedra, 0%, as well as some of the South Ponte Vedra areas. High unemployment might be over here, but I think the highest is in North Mayport up here, 18%. And then this is where our median household income data is. So it shows a little bit about where folks are making the most money, which is the dark colors, right? And where the income is lower. So we can see that area with high unemployment also has some of the a lower range of median income. This is another map where cost burden exceeds 50% in some tracts. So this is looking at housing. You're paying 30% or more of your income on housing, and then what percentage of the population is paying that higher rate. So you can see unemployment is high up here, median income is lowest, as well as housing cost burden is quite high up in the north part of the beach. But there's also some really high rates of housing cost burden in Ponte Vedra, right? So we look here. This is again is JTB. This is right on the other side of JTB right here, as well as this is across the intercoastal. I believe, let's take a look. Yeah, across the intercoastal, I would imagine maybe some new homes are built in this area.
But when you go down to Ponte Vedra again and you see that one section that's so dark, that is, those were all apartment complexes there that were built back in the 80s with grant money that were set aside for lower income to begin with. They're all going condo.
Got
There's
it.
a lot of condos, a lot of renovation and condo stuff going on down there, but also they're doing, if you will, renovation on those apartment complexes that are really just more cosmetic than anything else and raising the rents incredibly.
Oof. Donna, thank you for joining, giving us the community context. That's so important.
Well, when I moved here in 86, it was bond money that they used to build those condos. What used to be the Remington apartments were beautiful apartments at the time, and they were very, very cost effective. And I first moved in there when I moved down here to go to work in banking. But now, they've just put sort of like lipstick on a pig, if you will, and made them look pretty, and then have raised the rents down there to in the $2,000 range for an apartment.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, last data point is where people are experiencing those long commutes. So where folks are living. So a lot of them are South Ponte Vedra. This area could be probably considered almost even Nocatee, I think.
Yeah.
And then up here in South Mayport, maybe this might be even Neptune Beach parts of it. Yeah.
That's going to the base.
Yeah, right here. And then on the other side as well. So this is highest, around 18% of the population is experiencing those long commutes, up to 0%. So there's not too many folks over here who have a long commute, which that makes sense. These folks are right on a major throughway corridor to get to and from where they need to go. This looks at number of businesses. So where is your concentrated economic hubs? And this to me makes sense, right? So number of businesses per capita. I think this is over here. This is probably back behind Sawgrass. I think there's some businesses back here. Maybe less population density too. Got our Jack's Beach corridor here. And then this is right off the Arlington Expressway, I think, right here. Atlantic Boulevard. This is JTB. And this is, where is, let's make this bigger. It's hard to see. There we go. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I could dig into this all day. You guys are just just here for the ride. I'm sorry. Okay, job location clusters, right? So this is where do the jobs sit within this community? So a lot of them are along the coast here, some back in this area of the beach. Um, I try to do some correlational analysis too, which is something new that we're adding in to our analysis work, right? So we couldn't find a very significant correlation between unemployment and median household income. But there is opportunity to do additional correlation analyses when it comes to some of our reporting, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to be able to do that.
Allison,
Yes,
in
ma'am.
in terms of correlations, like with the price of rent, have
Mhm.
y'all taken a look at the impact of the cost of property insurance as well as property taxes for unhomesteaded properties
Mm.
at the beach? And, that impact on the rent
You
and
know,
the high cost of rent?
that's not something that we've been asked to do, right? I know it's something that people are looking at kind of at a macro level, um, but it's not something that we've been asked to do. But I think it's an interesting thing to look at. So when I think about data around property taxes and insurance costs, the majority of data that I can find that's publicly available is at the county level. It's not doesn't go down to the census tract level. So it would be harder to do that. But something definitely to add to our list of things to continue to look into.
Yeah, I just think at the beach in particular, those two things are, are really significant in
Mhm.
terms of, the cost of living there. And, Homestead really, kind of puts a damper on
Mhm.
that cost. But once a property loses the homestead, those taxes go up exponentially and
Yes.
then, are passed along to the poor renter. So it's
Mm.
anyway, and it's significant, just because of the rising cost of housing. So if you have multi-million-dollar houses all surrounding, a little house that loses its homestead, but maybe stays a little house, the cost of renting that house is really not going to match up to, what is being offered with that house.
Hmm.
And also just the cost of property insurance as well, or, even being able to get insurance at the beach and the fact that you have to carry, you may have to carry wind and flood
Flood.
as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
And the cost of those just keeps going. I'm a beach resident, so I speak from experience. It just
Yes.
keeps going up. So of course, if you're renting there, you're also experiencing, that cost burden.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't know if there was some kind of some change in the tax structure or something last year that went into effect this year because in one of the beaches moms groups right around January or something there were a lot of moms panicking something around the homestead and all of a sudden their rent was double or their pay
Wow.
something and I don't it didn't affect me so I didn't really dig in but I saw um it was just exactly what you're talking about, Amy. Like
Mm.
they were, I guess it wasn't their rent, I guess it was their mortgage. I guess they were young homeowners like
Mm,
not expecting some, and it was literally doubled what they were paying, and they weren't expecting it or something. And it seemed like there was something they could do and it would help,
oh,
but maybe not
yes.
until next year or something.
They
But it
probably
was
forgot to file for homestead to
maybe a
homestead their
homestead or something.
property.
But
Yeah.
it was exactly what you were saying. I mean, they were showing the numbers, and I mean, it was literally, that what they where they used to pay 1,500, now they had to pay like 3,000 or something, and they didn't have it
Mhm.
to pay.
Right.
Yes. So, that's super interesting. And I think this is a really great point is that data can only take us so far, right? It's really about documenting our community's experiences that help us reinforce the data and give it context. So that's exactly what we're going to do at our year-end event at the Beaches Action Collaborative meeting on May 19th. So I would love for you all to be there. I'm going to facilitate a river of life activity where we're going to document our experiences as a community and how they're reinforcing or maybe not reinforcing what we're seeing in the data. So we'll start with the data, but really the whole point of the session is going to be to document our community's experiences. So I'm really excited to be able to do that with you all there. So please join us. Again, I will share out this report with you all. If you have any feedback about it, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Feel free to email me or just, set up some time to give me a call. I loved talking with folks on the phone. And then let me just plug our survey here so you can let me know what you thought of today's conversation. Hold on. I gotta pull it up. Sorry, y'all. Mm-mm-mm. I'll put it in a chat and I will let you go for the day. I appreciate you all joining us. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you or your organization tell your story with data. We want to be able to do more reports like the one that I did today for our nonprofit member organizations. Lacey's going to help us with that. So we're really excited to be able to execute these data stories for our community.
What
Thank
you
you so
posted
much.
says this content can't be viewed here.
Oh, well, I will
Uh,
follow up with you
but
with
you,
that link via email.
but
I don't
thank
know.
you. It was a great program.
Yeah. Thank,
Okay.
thank you,
Hopefully, we'll
Allison.
see you tomorrow, Allison.
Yes. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Have a great
Thanks.
day.
This is great.
Yep. See you
Thank
tomorrow.
you
Thank
all.
you.
Uh-huh. Bye bye.